It's 2026 and the cost of living is rising. 42% of Gen Z is depressed. Our jobs are being replaced by AI. The food we eat is literal poison. And apparently none of us will be able to afford a home? I'm fucking scared. And if you clicked on this video, then you're probably asking the same questions that I am. Is Gen Z cooked? It's no secret that the previous generations had it easier than us. It's like at that time, the world worked like how it should have. You go to school, you go to college without having to sell a kidney to pay for tuition. You graduate and get a job with almost no hassle. And within the first couple years of working, you're able to afford a house, a nice car, and eventually settle down and have kids. And that's what we were taught to think. But in this day and age, everything we were once promised seems to be slowly slipping away from us. In 1970, the average house cost about 2 times the median annual salary. Today, it's more like 7 or 8. And in some cities, the math just stops working. You look at your bank account after a 40-hour week and realize you didn't earn money. You earned a 72-hour subscription to not be homeless. But it's not just rent. It's the fact that we've priced out ownership in every sense. We don't own our music. We lease it from Spotify. We don't own our cars. We have 72-month financing plans with interest rates that look like high scores. And it starts to seem like we're the generation that consumes, but never owns. And when you don't own anything, you don't have a stake in the future. Basically, with the rising costs of today's world, our paychecks aren't enough to invest in anything permanent. We literally don't own anything. Let's step aside from housing and rent and ownership and whatnot, and let's look at the AI of everything. All you see nowadays is AI this, AI that. The college education that we're literally spending years on and going into debt for is now getting beat by chatbots that can do the things that we do, but in literal seconds. It's like we're the first generation to be overeducated and underneeded at the same time. We were told to stay in school and to specialize in a certain major, to become knowledge workers because the manual jobs were for the past. It's not that AI is smarter than us, it's that it's cheaper than us. Why would a corporation hire a junior graphic designer, or a paralegal, or a copywriter when they can just pay $20 to an AI chatbot that doesn't need health insurance or a lunch break? We're essentially competing for entry-level roles against an AI machine that has read every book and with zero sleep. Of course a corporation would choose that over a human that needs actual maintenance. It's simply all a part of corporate greed. We're not being replaced because we did something wrong or because we're incompetent. No, it's simply because we're cheaper to replace. You can't escape the sensory overload we experience every day on social media. We're the first generation to have our brains treated like a literal gold mine for the attention economy. Heck, if our attention spans weren't this low, I probably wouldn't have spent hours editing in fancy effects just to maintain your attention. We talk about brain rot like it's a joke, but look at our attention spans. We've been conditioned by this 15-second loop. That's all we've been feeding into our brains really with all this short-formed content. If a video doesn't have that hook in the first 2 seconds, you're gone. We've lost the ability to just be, to sit in silence, to read a chapter of a book without having to look at the dopamine slot machines in our fucking pockets. We aren't consuming the content. The content is consuming us. And what type of content are we even looking at? It's AI slop. And when we finally put the phone down, we feed the same emptiness with literal poison. Look at the ingredients in a standard budget meal right now. It's a chemical cocktail of dyes, preservatives, and seed oils that are banned in half of the civilized world. And we're wondering why we're the most depressed and anxious generation? Maybe it's because we're living in a feedback loop. We eat junk that trashes our health, which trashes our mental health, which makes us seek cheap dopamine on our phones, which makes us feel even worse. It's not a lifestyle. It's a trap. We're being sedated by the very things that are supposed to make us happy. The world as we know it today is changing at an extremely fast and unpredictable rate, which means to answer the question if Gen Z is cooked is gonna be pretty hard to answer. Based on everything I said, it does seem like the world is going to shit for us. But even with all of these problems, we've proven to be quite a resilient generation. We're literally more woke to the evils of this world than any other generation in our entire history. Speaking of which, I will be making a video on that soon, so please stay tuned. So who knows? Maybe there is a light at the end of the tunnel. This video wasn't meant to answer a question, but to reiterate the question of why is this happening once it's our turn to be adults?